Upholding the conviction of Colonel Pantoja would fly in the face of the immunity granted him by the very people he allegedly oppressed and tortured.
If a state such as Iraq or Libya were to grant immunity to a criminal, must we be bound by it?
Madam Justice, Chile is not a renegade terrorist state. Its present government was democratically elected, and it is an ally to the United States. The prosecution of former ministers of a sovereign state for transgressions committed in Chile would violate treaties between our countries. It trespasses on the constitutional powers of our executive branch to conduct foreign policy.
But, Mr. Childs, if a jurisdictional nexus has been established, why should the prosecution of serious crimes become hostage to foreign policy?
If this conviction stands, it will be the end of foreign policy. Imagine our president, while on a visit to a foreign country, being arrested on a warrant issued by China for the bombing of their embassy in Serbia, or a former Secretary of State being tried in Cambodia for the killing of civilians during the Vietnam War. This conviction would legitimize such prosecutions. How could any president conduct foreign policy under these circumstances? Only the narrowest reading of jurisdictional statutes must apply. The sovereignty of democratically elected governments in judicial matters must be respected. The alternative is anarchy under the guise of criminal prosecution.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. May it please the court. Man has only the rights he can defend. Our most basic right is life. It's enshrined not only in our Constitution, but in the Charter of the United Nations. The prohibition against taking a life is found in our most ancient texts and in the statutes of every nation. Every murder, whether in Brooklyn, Santiago, Rwanda, or Kosovo, demands punishment by whatever legal means possible. Otherwise, the right to life is just an empty promise.
But Mr. McCoy, doesn't using a jurisdictional fig leaf to propel your prosecution undermine the statutes you refer to?
On the contrary, Madam Justice, timidity in the pursuit of murderers is no virtue. The founding fathers affirmed life as an absolute right. If the laws protecting that right are to have any meaning, they must be given the broadest interpretation.
And what about the appellate's contention that upholding this conviction would open a Pandora's box and hinder the conduct of our foreign policy?
The precedent has already been set. Heads of state can be tried for war crimes. An American president sent the Marines to Panama to arrest President Noriega for drug smuggling. And if this case gives our own leaders pause before they drop a load of napalm on a village full of children in a neutral country, that can't be a bad thing. The law against murder applies to all, no matter the perpetrator, the victim, or the country where the murder is committed. It's the one moral law that recognizes no national, racial, or religious boundaries. It can tolerate no exceptions. There is one law. One law. And when that law is broken, it's the duty of every officer of any court to rise up in defense of that law and bring their full power and diligence to bear against the lawbreaker. Because man has only those rights he can defend. Only those rights. Thank you.
Well, we'll wait here another 5 hours to go back to the hotel.
The clerk said it might not be too much longer.
Quick turnaround for this court. Doesn't sound promising.
Win, lose, fought the good fight.
Amen to that.
Well, if that isn't reason for hope.
Here comes the clerk. Looks like she's holding the decision.